Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to episode 1 of Infinity Train. So yeah, we are only doing one episode, and I know this is a half-length episode series now. I actually only just found out about that while I was getting the episode up on my media player. I thought it was going to be like normal length half-hour episodes. So yeah, but we're still only doing episode 1 because it's all I've got downloaded. Also, just because we're just going to start with the first episode. So if you remember, I did react to the pilot for this, the original pilot that was where the series originally came from. I reacted to that back in March of 2018, over 2 years ago. To put this in perspective, February 2018 is when my old account got deleted, and I made this account. That was in like I think late February. Now I posted my reaction to the pilot on March 20th, so like about a month only after this new channel came up. I was still in the process of trying to get my old account back at that point, before I realized it was a fruitless endeavor and YouTube doesn't give a shit unless you have a lot of revenue coming in. But yeah, yeah. It's hard to believe it's been over 2 years. I've seen it again since then, but still. So from what I remember of Infinity Train, it stars this girl. I think her name is Tulip. Um, we're not really given much of any info about her, but she's stuck on this infinitely, just kind of constantly, perpetually moving train. And every car of the train is kind of like a portal into another world almost. Some of the train cars are very small, very compact, very much like what you would expect a train car to be like. But other train cars are very large and kind of contain their own little worlds. And it's never quite clear what each train car is going to hold. You can never guess. I believe she also had this number, like this kind of like glowing tattooed number on her hand. And I don't know what that was about, but I don't think you were supposed to know in the pilots. It was kind of like this mystery. I remember that she was traveling alongside this like robot that could like split into two different robots, each with its own personality. One of them was kind of similar to, if you've ever seen the movie for, read the book for Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. Um, there's a character in it called Marvin the Paranoid Android. Um, and yeah, he is known for kind of having this depressive personality, this kind of defeatist, depressive personality. And that's kind of what one half of the robot in Infinity Train reminded me of. Then the other half was kind of very peppy and almost like Pinky from Pinky and the Brain. It always reminded me of that. Um, but they met other characters too. Like there was this talking dog named Atticus, and there was this creepy ass giant like robot with a lady face who I don't know if that one ever had a name actually. But there was all of this mystery that was ingrained in the pilot. And when it was found out that the pilot had been greenlit for its own series, it's like, oh yeah, this was exciting. We're going to find out what these mysteries are about. And the series came eventually. And I just never watched it yet because I had been watching other things and I wanted to get to those and everything first. Um, to put it simply, Infinity Train wasn't the highest um, on my priorities list. I had other shows I wanted to get to first. But now we're finally here. We are finally here. We're finally getting to it. I know there's 2 seasons out and there's a third one coming. Though I think from what I've heard, the third season is actually centering around a different character. If what I heard is right, that it's actually like a completely separate story, or at least has a different main character. I don't know how true that is. You guys can tell me, I guess, if you really want to. I don't consider that much of a big spoiler. Just don't tell me any big plot details or anything. um, or anything that happens with Tulip or whatnot. Um, yeah. So either way, just like with any series, we'll most likely just be watching through season 1 right now, and we'll come back to season 2 later on if this is a show I end up liking, and want to continue all the way on. I don't know how many episodes there are as well, but I do know there's a series of like these like little shorts that if I do continue all the way through season 1, I will watch after season 1, because I think that's when they were released. Like I think they were released post season 1, or either that or during the course of season 1 they were being released, kind of like like Ruby did with its World of Remnant videos, something like that. But either way, I would react to them afterwards. From what I heard about the specials, they're just random little things. They're not like connected to the story. It's just a way to like show off more creative ideas, basically. Um, so it's going to be interesting to see what this series is like. Um, because the plot alone, just this girl going like stuck on the infinity train, going from car to car, I guess trying to figure out the mystery of this mysterious number on her hand. It's like it's very simple. But if the pilot is anything to go on, the presentation of it's not going to be very simple. And there's going to be a lot of mysteries that are going to be revealed as it continues on. One of the biggest ones that I want to know, like right off the bat, is who is Tulip? Who is she? Why is she on the train? How did she get on the train? And just like, where did she come from? What's her story? That's something I want to know. I guess maybe we'll find out. But I've talked on for quite a bit now. I don't really know anything about what's to come with this, because this is one of those shows that I just haven't heard a lot of people talking about. Um, Usually the only things I hear is people like it. That's about it. I haven't heard anyone talking about anything in it, or even gotten a chance to see anyone talking about that before I would like leave that conversation or whatever. You know what I mean. Either way, we're just gonna get this started and hope for the best. And just as a note, for future reactions, we'll probably be doing multiple episodes just because they are half-length episodes. It's just this one, I didn't know it was going to be half-length at first, so I only have the one downloaded. And I want to make sure I get to it today and don't have to worry about downloading everything else. Either way, we're just going to get to it. We're just going to do episode 1 to start off and go from there. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts, and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So I knew Tulip sounded familiar. It's Ashley Johnson, the voice of Ellie from the Last of Us games. She's also, apparently, I did not know this, she's Tara from Teen Titans. And on top of that, which that's already like a pretty known role, she's Gretchen from Disney's Recess. And Gwen from Ben 10. I did not know those she had those roles too. Like when I think of Ashley Johnson, I just think of Ellie. So it's like, yeah, that's pretty damn awesome. Those are some pretty cool roles. Like I grew up with Ben 10 and Recess, so it's like I definitely know both of those characters very well. Um, but anyways, um, so for an 11-minute episode, we got a lot of information in this. So it starts off with Tulip coming home from school talking to a friend. I assume coming home from school. I don't think it actually said that directly, but she's talking to her friend, and she mentions that she is a amateur game designer, basically. She's created her own game, which apparently is the only video game her friend likes, which is, let's be honest, probably partially due to just them being friends. Um, but Tulip is now excited to be going off to this game design camp. She's really excited about it. Um, but her parents, both her parents who are divorced, both have kind of made mistakes in regards to getting this all set up, and neither can drive her to the camp now. Because of this, she gets upset and runs away from home to try and walk to the camp herself. But along the way, she ends up getting basically picked up by the Infinity Train. The Infinity Train finds her. She climbs aboard thinking it's going to Oshkosh, where she's supposed to be heading. And yeah, she's on it now. Now, I'm going to say this right off the bat before we get into anything else. We need to see how her parents react to this. I know the big appeal of this series is going to be the train, all of the different cars, and the wonders it holds, but we need to see how her parents have reacted to her having basically run away. Her mother, especially, being the one who she's living with currently, but her father as well. At least one of them. And it's so easy to do, and you could do it in like a 30-second scene without, and it wouldn't like ruin the integrity of the rest of any episode. It's just like they need to do it though, because that was one of the big issues. In fact, the biggest issue I had with Owl House. Despite all the stuff it did get right, which it definitely got plenty right, Owl House had this major issue that it like kind of was refusing to touch on the topic of Anne, I think her name. No, that was Amphibia. Anne is Amphibia. Um, God, what is her name? It is escaping me right now. But either way, it refused to touch on how her mother was going to react to her having not been at camp and having like realized all of that shit. And maybe that's going to happen in season 2 and all, but it doesn't matter. By that point, it's too late to kind of introduce something that important and that big into the story. That's a massive plot point that needed to be done early on, like before the halfway point. It's just of the first season, I mean. It just bothers me. So I'm really, really hoping that they don't make the same mistake with this series. I'm really hoping that they introduce like the parents finding out about this. Even if we don't get like full, like complete resolution with it right now. We just need to see them realizing that Tulip is gone. And it could very easily be done in a lot of different ways. Again, very quickly too, so it's like it doesn't ruin the integrity of anything. It needs to be done though. And I don't want to get annoyed with another show at making that same mistake. But either way, let's talk about the actual content of the episode. Um, so yeah, as I mentioned in the reaction, uh, Tulip being the daughter of divorced parents and stuff is it's really cool to see. Like I said, though, in today's day and age of cartoons, that kind of stuff being introduced is not as um, unusual. Like today, the current day and age of cartoons, which I would say started in 2010, um, or maybe even a little before. Um, it started around 2010. Um, but this day and age of cartoons has gone into a lot of very mature topics, divorce being one of them. And so it's not like unusual to see that nowadays. There was a time period where, yeah, that would have been very kind of no go territory, but nowadays it's fine. And a lot of cartoons will have stuff like that. But it's still cool to see it being talked about so frankly. Because you see Tulip and her friend talking about it, and it's like it's even though Tulip is getting upset at it being mentioned and everything, it's clear that this is just something that she's living with, a fact of life in a way, and that they're talking about it so frankly. It shows also it's showing young like we don't know how young. I would probably say middle school age though. But young kids talking about something like this in such a mature way and understanding what they're talking about. Um, and that's another thing that I'm always glad to see when child characters are treated not just like these, like basically as babies. Because so many people still like to think that children can't handle a lot of things when they can handle a lot more than you think. Children are a lot more mature than people give them credit for. Um, so I like seeing them being treated that way. Um, and so the next thing I really want to discuss is the train itself. So she's walking to where this camp is when the train suddenly seemingly comes out of nowhere. It's just suddenly kind of there. It opens the doors, kind of like inviting her in, while literally having the destination listed as exactly where she wants to go. I said in the reaction, but it's like this seems way too convenient. She like her reaction was, oh well, that's it, what was it, the way she put it? I don't remember, but basically she was like, "Oh, that basically like that's convenient." I'm like, "Yeah, that's the problem though. Something just the fact that it's clearly the place she is going to. That's unnerving. That would actually to me come across as a massive red flag. It's like okay, this train kind of comes out of nowhere and then it just happens to be going to the same place I am. No, I am not. I'm not going for that. I would be running at that point. But Tulip gets on anyways, just looking for, I guess, an easy ride. And I guess it like kind of there's some kind of interdimensional transportation that happens because as she puts it a little later on, she's not in Wisconsin, I think she said. It was Wisconsin or Minnesota. I think it was Wisconsin. But either way, she's not anywhere near where she was before. It's kind of like this hellscape it looks like outside. Um and it did seem at first my thoughts were like maybe that's actually still part of the train, but it seemed like no because she went back into the room afterwards into the train car. So that is just again some kind of interdimensional transport and she's in some kind of other realm. Now, here is something that I expected, but did not expect this soon and did not expect it to go this hard. The horror elements. The original pilot definitely had some horror elements with that big, like, robot monster thing with the woman's face. Um, there was definitely a massive, like, red flag in terms of this series is going to be pretty freaky. um, so it's like I expected that kind of stuff. I expected some train cars to be kind of silly and frivolous, but other ones to be kind of terrifying. I didn't know there was going to be other stuff though, like outside of the train cars that were terrifying. Then again, I didn't really know there was going to be stuff outside of the train cars and shit. Um, Even before the bugs come in, you see someone being pulled from the train by like this tractor beam like thing that goes into this like vortex in the sky. And as they're being pulled out into the open air, they are atomized. That is one of the most terrifying things you could show in this. Atomization is absolutely, at least for me, mortifying. The very concept of it is one of the most terrifying things I can think of. No joke. The idea of being pulled apart atom by atom until you are nothing left. How can that not be absolutely terrifying? Like everything about that is just so horrible. I was gonna say horrifying, and then I was gonna say horrible, and I kind of just combined them. But seriously, it's like, oh my god, that was so. Oh my god. And then on top of it, you bring in these weird dog-like insects. They're very much like roaches, but also they kind of have some similarities in their design to like a dog. Um, and on top of that, they fly, which is very fucking creepy. Like, yes, let's make this creepy ass dog bug thing that also flies. And on top of that, they suck your soul out through your face, like a fucking Dementor from Harry Potter, which are one of the scariest things in all of Harry Potter by far. So let's just add that in to something that's already quite terrifying. It's like, holy shit, chill. This show needs to fucking chill with its horrific imagery. This is episode 1. The first fucking episode. There is no reason to go this hard this early. Like, I mean, hell, I'll give it this. That is how you hook someone in. I am hooked in after that. That was insane. There are certain things that really freak me out, and it's like they hit all the right buttons with that in this. I've talked about it plenty of times before. I love horror themed cartoons. Whether the cartoon is fully horror themed or if it's a non horror themed cartoon that just happens to do an episode or whatnot that's horror themed. Either way, I love it when shows do that and get it right. That they actually make the scenario so terrifying while also being like fitting into the world and everything so that they don't seem unbelievable and all. When a show can do that, it's something special. I grew up watching shit like Courage the Cowardly Dog. I grew up with Samurai Jack that had the just phenomenal episode Jack in the Haunted House. I grew up with Powerpuff Girls that had multiple horror themed episodes, the most memorable of which was Abracadaver. This is the kind of shit I grew up with, and the kind of shit that to this day impresses me beyond reason. Shit like this, when I was growing up, when I was a kid and this stuff freaked me out, it's like it got me so into that feeling of being scared, but in a good way. You know what I mean? Um, like I don't know how to describe it. It's like when you just enjoy being scared. It's the same. It's the same reason people love horror movies and stuff. I guess it's because of the rush of endorphins and stuff. But um, yeah, it's just that feeling of being scared but enjoying it, of being scared but it being so well done that you can't help but just like gain this little bit of feeling of ecstasy from it. It's this super satisfying feeling. And seeing that through this episode was nostalgic. It brought me back to those moments as a kid when I would hide my eyes and even cry in fear at Abracadabra. When I would watch uh, King Ramsay's curse from Courage the Cowardly Dog, and the voice of King Ramses would send me into a panic. Those feelings as a kid where I would watch this stuff and get legitimately terrified, but watch it again and again and again because it was so good. I was brought back to that feeling. This this is special, or at least it has the potential to be. If this show can emulate these kind of feelings, not just the horror, not every episode has to be very horror based, but if this series can emulate feelings like this that bring up nostalgia and massive endorphin rushes and just extreme physical and emotional, just powerful emotion, just generally. I know what I'm talking about. You know I'm not amazing at talking. Um, if this show can continue to do that shit, then, like I said, we've got something special on our hands. I still say it needs to show what Tulip's parents, how they react to her being gone, and and I will stand by that. But this show is already doing something that Owl House didn't do for me. It's it's hooking me in farther than most any show has done from a first episode. Even some of my favorite shows of all time, like Legend of Korra, did not hook me in like this on its first episode. This this is big, and I really hope it lives up to this. I really hope that this is not just a case of, oh, the first episode was just so good and then everything after it was not. And I fully expect some episodes to not be as good. I mean, obviously, I'm going to expect that, but still. Um, this is this is good. This is really fucking good. We'll have to see exactly where it goes from here, though. But yeah, tell me in the comments below what you thought of this first episode of Infinity Train. And as always, no spoilers, please. Um, but yeah, I'm excited to see more. We'll watch it as we go, and again, I don't know how many episodes we'll do in one go, but we'll see. Um, but yeah, I can't wait to see more. But for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.